Meditation is a practice that involves a lot of right effort. In the matrix of 37 so-called wings of awakening, Bodhipakkhya Dhamma, right effort appears the most times out of all the qualities needed for the successful development of mind. Right effort, or Samma Vayama, is the sixth factor of the Eightfold Noble Path. Before embarking on a path of meditation, I believe it is important to grasp the concept of right effort correctly. Let me start with a story from Buddhist scriptures. During the Buddha's time, there was a young gentleman known as Sona Kolevisa. He is reported to have been so pampered that hair even grew on his feet. Later, Sona Kolevisa heard the Buddha's teachings, and understanding the need for mental development, he entered the monastic community of the Buddha. As a monk, he wanted to reach the highest levels of attainment, and the sooner, the better. He learned how to practice walking meditation and eagerly meditated to the limits of his physical ability. He walked so much that the tender skin on the soles of his feet ruptured and blood streamed out. In spite of that, Venerable Sona Kolevisa continued to walk and meditate. However, his meditation didn't develop further, so he began to doubt that he could ever attain the higher wisdom. The Buddha approached Venerable Sona Kolevisa and asked him to reflect on the time when the latter used to play the harp. He knew that if the strings of the harp were either too taut or too loose, the sound of the harp wasn't right. The Buddha is then reported to have said, "How do you perceive this, Sona? When the strings of your harp were neither too taut nor too loose, kept in the appropriate level, wasn't your harp both well-tuned as well as easy to play?" "Yes, sir." "Even so, Sona, is too much of an output of energy conducive to restlessness, while too feeble an output of energy brings sloth and torpor. Therefore, you too, Sona, should find the right balance of energy, realize the evenness of the faculties, and be mindful of it." Both excessive effort and lack of effort are two common reasons why meditators do not progress in their practice. With too much effort, the mind becomes stressed, anxious, and quickly tired. With a lack of sufficient effort, the mind is easily lost in thought and daydreaming, instead of observing reality as it is. A balance of effort is achieved through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the unattached observation of the phenomena that occur at the present moment. Observing physical and mental phenomena, including their patterns, can help us make wholesome decisions for ourselves and for the good of others. The two extremes of effort can be further described in terms of attachment. The first of the two extremes is carelessness, when the meditator lets the mind do whatever it wants. In that case, the meditator is thinking, planning, running through memories, composing poems, or writing books while sitting in meditation posture, instead of being in the present moment. How different, really, is that meditator from a slave? Slaves have no choice, no control over anything. They just follow whatever the master says. A meditator who has lost commitment to their meditation practice quickly becomes prey to their defilements and loses time by sleeping or inner chatter. This is not the aim of meditation. When the Buddha described his path to enlightenment, he explained how he first achieved great power and control over his mind, and how he then used that power to direct his mindfulness toward the reality of his mind and the body, thereby attaining enlightenment. The second extreme is when meditators master one meditation technique, but because of their attachment to that method, they cannot apply the acquired ability to concentrate or observe the reality in any other way. Even though such meditators can enjoy the benefits of their practice, they cannot make use of those benefits to develop the mind further. Such meditators are subservient to the meditation technique, obediently following it any time they sit in meditation. For example, if a meditator who is attached and stuck at the object of breathing wants to meditate on loving-kindness or be mindful of their mind, it will not be possible. their mind will always return to the breath. They will then despise other meditation techniques as a response to their inability to practice them. Another meditator might be excellent in discerning their mental states, but when they concentrate on their breath or loving kindness, they fail to stay with that object. Some meditators are mindful of their pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings or sensations, and their experience and understanding of these phenomena is at a deep level. However, a number of them have not realized the significance of the ability to observe reality in general, and created a strong attachment to one practice only. When they are asked to observe the materiality of their body, they are neither able to meditate on their body as separate from feelings or sensations, nor do they understand the underlying differences between body and feelings. In all such cases, the meditator has misunderstood the purpose of meditation. They have benefited little and become victims of attachment to a single meditation practice. Some of those meditators will spend years and years roaming across meditation centers and even trying different methods, but they will succeed only once they have overcome this obstacle. The solution can come only from themselves. They have to abandon their attachment to their beloved technique and mindfully open themselves to different meditation practices, even at the cost of forgetting the previous one. This is the way followed in the progressive instructions for meditation as we learn them from the Buddhist scriptures. First, we develop a great, wonderful attainment, and then abandon it so we can attain a deeper, even more powerful attainment. I will talk about this in Lecture 23 when we come to the topic of attainments. At this moment, it is important to mention that whatever practice of meditation you follow, remember it is not there to cling to, no matter how great it makes you feel, but rather for your ability to control your mind and develop the mind further with any other meditation practice. In the Majjhima Nikaya's Alagadupama Sutta, we can read the simile of the raft. The Buddha explains that if somebody had to cross a river to escape from a dangerous shore and achieve living on a safe shore, he or she would make a raft and work hard to cross the river. When they get past the river, they would not take the raft on their head or load it on their shoulders. Instead, they should haul it on dry land or set it adrift in the river. In the same way, we abandon attachment to the unwholesome mental states as well as to the wholesome mental states. Wholesome states are important during the mental development, but attachment will only cause trouble on the way. When we accomplish mental purity, there remain only the wholesome states, unobstructed, genuine. In brief, there are these two extremes of directing effort in meditation. One, where effort is not directed anywhere, and the mind thereby doesn't develop its qualities. And the second, where a meditator creates a strong attachment for a single meditation technique and cannot use the new skills anywhere else. When people come to a meditation center or a monastery to attend a meditation retreat, oftentimes they bring with them a lot of stress, insomnia, and thoughts which they accumulated during their daily life. You can think of meditation as a detox procedure. When you are taking the medicine or pills for bodily detoxification, already from the beginning you expect to go to the toilet and spend some time there. The decision to visit the restroom occurs in the mind after impurities collect at the end of the digestive tract. And when they are collected, you will experience them as they are leaving. When they are gone, you feel relieved and purified. Likewise, as you start a meditation retreat, there may be certain mental defilements coming up and gradually leaving, if you let them go. Unattached observation of the defilements is the key element in meditation. As soon as they appear in the mind, we let them go without grasping. Subsequently, they subside. The Buddha further explained the meaning of right effort in terms of ethics. It is the effort to prevent the arising of unarisen unwholesome mental states, to overcome unwholesome mental states that have arisen, to allow unarisen wholesome mental states to arise, and to stir up energy, exert the mind, and strive to maintain wholesome mental states that have arisen. It's a kind of strategic thinking. In meditation, this is particularly needed, because unwholesome and wholesome states arise and pass away all the time. You could perhaps imagine that a meditator is not expected to cherish lust and hatred while they meditate, but rather to avoid them and develop love and equanimity instead. When the environment is harmonious and peaceful, and when the meditation practice is well understood, we can talk about energy, viriya. Energy is the basis of effort. Without energy, there is no effort possible. Now I will explain how to create, preserve, and increase energy. When we are meditating, we observe how mental impurities, angers, and stresses, sorrow and failures appear in the mind, and as they arise, we let them go, without forcing, without expectations, without aversion. If we observe how they come, and if we let them go, the mind stays balanced, and we can go deeper. What is uncomfortable, however, is that when you notice them arising, you don't let them go, but instead grasp them. In terms of tiredness and energy, that stress and insufficient sleep accumulated during your daily life will become apparent at the beginning of your meditation retreat, and it will need to be relieved. Let it go. If you think, no, I shouldn't be tired, no, I shouldn't sleep, the stress and tiredness will obviously make troubles, because they want to go, and you don't want to let them go. It's like when you are attending that detoxification procedure, and when the feces collects at the end of your digestive tract, you will think, no, I don't want to go to the toilet, I want to keep them. In the same way, when you are meditating, the tiredness, the difficulties, the stresses are coming into the mind, and you will have to see them, experience them, and let them go. If you want to purify the mind, allow them to manifest and disappear. Then, if you allow them to disappear, if you allow them to go, they can decrease and they do not appear again. Or if they appear again, they will appear in a subtler form. And again, when they appear in a subtle form, you will let them appear in the subtle form and let them go. Defilements which arise inevitably need a chance to pass away. Then there are defilements which we can prevent from arising, suppress, and liberate from. Those are the so-called hindrances, nivarana. These are the focus of the practice in the first place, because as soon as the influence of hindrances has decreased, it is possible to observe the mind and the body. It is possible to concentrate on whatever you choose. The final liberation from the hindrances comes together with the attainment of ultimate wisdom. When the mind faces the reality of the world, when it encounters the way how impermanence and unsatisfactoriness manifest, the mind is not used to it. It is shocked and wants to retreat. It wants to stick to what it was used to. Whatever the bad habits were, the mind wants to stick to them. If it could speak, it would say, no, I'm fine with my habits. That's the way it always was. Why should it change? At that moment, the meditators apply their patience and wisdom and continue in their practice. The mind may then exhibit unnecessary tiredness, unnecessary stress. In those cases, we can apply specific remedies. As I mentioned a while ago, the body and the mind will need some time to settle after the change from daily life into the meditative setting. We can therefore expect that at the beginning of a meditation retreat or intensive meditation practice, we will need 3 or more days to accommodate and gain the necessary energy to meditate in an energetically balanced way. In other words, the first 3 or 4 days you may need to allow yourself sleep as much as you need. Then, if you still experience lack of sleep, recognize it as the hindrance of sloth and torpor and apply the appropriate solutions. There are 2 sets of solutions in case if sloth and torpor, thina-middha, obstruct the mind while you meditate. The first set are the 7 suggestions given by the Buddha himself in the Pachalayamana Sutta of Anguttara Nikaya, also known as the Discourse on Dosing. The Buddha there advises his disciple Venerable Moggallana that in case of fatigue obstructing his meditation, he changes the object of his meditation practice. This, of course, might be challenging information for some meditators who know only one meditation practice. Some meditators would believe only their practice is correct and no other. In the Burmese understanding of meditation practices, there are 40 meditation objects for concentration and 22 techniques for observing the mind and the body. Each of them helped a large number of people to develop their mind. You don't have to practice all of them. The intention is to show that there is a variety of methods, and any of them may be essential on your path. You may apply the advice of changing the object of attention also in your daily life. Perhaps it's late at night and you are studying to pass your examination or working on a scholarly paper. Perhaps you are reading a book or answering your correspondence. When fatigue starts to close your eyes, you may change the object of your work for a while and see if that helps you regain energy. However, if you feel half dead with tiredness, be it in meditation, in other tasks, and especially when driving, there is nothing better than to take a nap. We will talk about taking rest in more detail later. The second and third suggestions reflect the customs of the Buddha's time. There, if you wanted to meditate, you were expected to memorize the instruction word by word, including all details related to that meditation practice. Unfortunately, that habit has disappeared, and therefore many teachers spend a lot of time just repeating what they said before, while some of the students don't remember it at all. A reliable source of information on this is the meditation guidebook called Visuddhimagga, a commentary which compiles the stories of enlightened people and the ways how they became enlightened. According to Visuddhimagga, the theoretical part of meditation practice is first to be acquired. This word acquiring, ugganhati, was commonly used in the sense of memorizing a text word by word. It would not work if today's meditation teachers asked their students to memorize the meditation instruction. Most of those students would run away. Therefore, if you attend a meditation retreat today, you are reminded of the instruction several times, in different ways, with more and more details. In some cases, you are not reminded, and then you may misunderstand the practice. Memorizing helps you notice subtle details in the instruction and protect you from misunderstanding. The Buddha advised Venerable Moggallana to think about and analyze the words of the Buddha's teachings he has heard and memorized before. If that didn't help, he would recite them out loud. You may think perhaps singing a song would have a similar effect. However, the words of the Buddha may be even more effective than a song, if the meditator has faith in them. If neither changing the object of meditation nor thinking and reciting the Buddha's words help, we are advised to pull both ears and rub our limbs. If you decide to try this out, remember to do it carefully, gently, and not too forcefully. What is perhaps famous as the remedy for drowsiness is making use of water. The Buddha advises to get up from the seat, rub the eyes with water, and look at the sky dotted with stars. Cool water can do a lot, not just externally, but also when we drink it. Fatigue is sometimes caused by insufficient intake of water. In cold climates, drinking warm water may be a better choice, because when we get too cold from sitting too long, we may need warmth to wake us up. The next advice is most useful if you are already experienced in meditation. The suggestion is to imagine light in our mind. Although it would be dark outside, we would imagine an intense, powerful light shining right into our eyes. This may seriously affect the levels of the chemical compound known as adenosine and the hormone melatonin in the body, perhaps increasing the hormone cortisol, which naturally rises in the morning at the time of sunrise. In other words, the meditator would experience something similar to waking up with the rising sun. Finally, the Buddha suggests changing the meditation posture. If we have been sitting, it will be good to stand up and walk mindfully with restrained senses. In meditation centers, we may find a number of walking paths for that purpose. Meditators engage in walking meditation not only to deal with their drowsiness, but also to improve their concentration and insight in various postures. Although the meditator is supposed to try out all these suggestions when they deal with drowsiness, the Buddha is well aware that in some cases none of these will help. Therefore, we are further advised that if none of those suggestions work, we lie down, mindful and aware of the time when we want to wake up. Perhaps you have already experienced a case when you wanted to wake up at a certain time, but you would be wide awake already a few minutes before the alarm clock rang. That probably happened because of your intention to wake up when you went to bed, and the firm determination to fulfill it. These were the 7 suggestions given by the Buddha. Let's look at the second set of advice to deal with sloth and torpor, thina middha. These are 6 suggestions given by the Pali commentary to the famous Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on establishing mindfulness. Has it ever happened to you that after a delicious meal, the only thoughts you would have would be about taking a rest? The meditation guidebook Visuddhimagga already expects that this will happen and suggests that after a meal, the meditator takes a rest and then meditates. However, the time would be spent much better if the drowsiness hadn't arisen in the first place. The remedy for that is simply to reduce the amount of food we eat. Of course, the kind of meal we eat also has an effect on our drowsiness after it. Avoiding meat, reducing oily and fried food, dairy, and certain kinds of fruit such as bananas, we may write off the need for extended resting periods. The next 2 suggestions are comparable to those in the first set of 7. Changing the posture is a generalized version of the Buddha's advice to stand up from sitting and to walk. The original words used by the commentary seem to apply that any change of one's posture is worth a try. There are cases when a meditator is tired while walking. For them, standing or sitting posture might be the solution. Concentrating on the image of light created in one's mind has been already discussed. Sometimes when you meditate in a room or an enclosed chamber, the light is not strong. I have seen a number of meditators turning off the light when they meditate in the evening. That idea is neither suggested by the Buddhist scriptures, nor will it support the meditator's wakefulness. When you turn off the light, your body starts to create chemicals needed for sleep. You will then easily fall into drowsiness and lose your mindfulness. I, therefore, do not recommend turning off the light when you meditate in the evening. Instead, keep the light on or light a candle in front of you. If the air in your room is not fresh enough, open the window or go outside of your room or the building and meditate under the open sky. The last 2 suggestions cannot be applied if you're alone. A good friend may encourage you in your practice, give you suggestions how to increase your energy, and inspire you by their example. Then, if you talk with a good friend about a suitable topic, it may increase your enthusiasm in the meditation practice, develop joy in your mind, and create trust in your further endeavors. In the next lecture, I would like to introduce you to mindfulness, sati, the core of all meditation practices in Theravada Buddhism. We will look at the practice of establishing mindfulness in its basic form, namely the awareness of postures and daily activities.